Our topic of the day is Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
We're back in the news.
Well, seemingly always, but it's like a wild. I think that might be the most fascinating country on earth right now.
Like, I've never been fucking sucking down so much Saudi Arabia news in my life. This new thing dropped of their new city or whatever they want to do, and then I always revert back to will Saudi Arabia still be a country in 2050 because the whole oil crisis and whatnot.
Well, and that's what this Live Tour, this city that it's NEOM, NEOM. I don't know what it stands for or if it's an acronym or what, but I blogged it last week. That's what you're talking about. Like this city that is straight out of the fucking future because it's 100 miles long. Okay. So 170 kilometers. I'm not like a big metric system guy. So it's 100 miles long. It's roughly supposedly going to be about 500 meters tall, which is similar to the height of the Empire State Building, to give you context. So pretty fucking tall. And then it's only 200 meters wide. So it's like, I don't know, what's that, like 6 blocks or something like that wide? Like it's not like they call it the line that, it's a linear city, like, for a reason. And they do these, they released this video that was all like computer generated graphics, and they show what it would look like at night from space. And it's just like this line that just cuts right across the desert from like sea to shining sea. So from like the Red Sea out to like the Indian Ocean, 100 miles long across the country. One of the stated goals for Saudi Arabia, whose entire wealth is predicated upon fossil fuels and oils, is to have 50% of the entire country's energy come from renewable resources. So they're investing heavily in solar, wind, not hydro, because why? They don't have a single river in their entire country. Not a single river. Okay. So solar and wind energy for the most part. And then they have that linear city, that Neom. That's going to be entirely, all of its energy 100% of its energy is going to come from renewables. And then they have some sort of water uses filtration system that 100% of their water is going to be sustainable, renewable too. So they actually are doing they have, similar to the way that they pump water out, okay, they've also found a way to turn the middle of their country, which is all desert, they're making it green. So they have like this aquifer underneath the surface. So like 10,000, 20,000 years ago, similarly, we've talked about this with Africa before, North Africa, the Sahara Desert. It was like this lush farmland. Well, they had and you can do this through geological studies too, where they had unbelievable amounts of rainfall on the Arabian Peninsula like 10,000, 12,000 years ago. And then the climate changed and it turned back into a desert. But all that water had to go somewhere, and it went in large amounts to underground. So they have these giant, like the entire... It's like if you dig a well in Saudi Arabia, you're either hitting water or you're hitting oil. It's like those are probably the two best things to have. So now same way they have all these oil pumps, they have this region in the middle of the country, maybe a little bit more towards the south, where they pump out water, and if you could see it like a satellite image from space, you're like, what the fuck are all those green things in the middle of Saudi Arabia? It's like, well, they can grow crops. Yeah. So they're able to be not totally self-sufficient from an agricultural standpoint, but getting there. And they're also, the Middle East in general is pioneering vertical farming. So they'll have like UV rays, and they'll have some greenhouses where instead of just growing plants on the ground, you'll have like stories and stories and stories of crops that you're growing. So whether you're growing grains or whatever, and you can use less water when you're doing vertical farming, because it's going to you're doing it right into the root system. You're not losing anything to evaporation, and you'll have a higher yield on a smaller square footage than you would have just growing normal plants on one level on the ground. So they're doing great things with agriculture. this. I mean, it's fucking Sim City. Okay, this.
Now, is this a PR thing though? Like, is that why they're doing this? Okay.
I think it can serve more than one purpose. We've been sitting here for 15 minutes talking about Saudi Arabia. We haven't mentioned one horrible thing, and they have a long list of them. They're synonymous and they're attached to these other projects that are viewed in a positive light, as opposed to everything else that they're attached to, which is insanely negative.